Welcome back to Ahead of the Game, sports chat with Ryan and Jez. Tuck,
Wow.
Tuck Sports
Ooh.
Takes, Sports Pez Jez, bets.com.au. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Wow, you're getting real creative with these intros now, mate. It's never clean. It's always a surprise.
I
Loving
got
it.
a little bit of like the old Looney Tunes theme in the back of my mind, just in that last bit. The da-da-da-da-da-da.
Maybe we should change the theme song. Let's
Like we
let's mix
pop
it
out
up.
of, remember that circle that Looney Tunes and the
I
characters popped out at the
yeah,
end?
was it always Porky Pig? Maybe
Yeah,
was
or
it, or
Porky
was it all
Pig or
different
Daffy
ones?
Duck. That's all,
Uh,
folks.
Don't ever do that again.
Good to have you back, buddy. Head of the game.
Yeah, don't like it. I feel you don't like being away from this show. Have you been off the show yet? Once, maybe.
Yeah, 2
Yeah,
episodes when
had
you've had your
Josh
brother
on,
on.
other Josh.
Yeah.
It's nice that we've got two replacements and they're the same, Josh and Josh.
Both big massive opinions and a lot
Yeah,
going on in
very
their
much the
heads.
same type of person, really. Just different face,
Must be something in the
different
name.
opinions. Yeah, must be. Anyway, what are
All
we
right,
talking about today?
today, Tux's top 5. It's Wednesday. I got
Mm.
this was really hard, and I've been thinking about it for a while. And it's top 5 sporting events that you want to attend. And
Ooh.
like I
How am
can't.
I not
I've
involved in this conversation? How did
well,
you
it's
decide,
it's
make
part.
these
The whole
decisions
thing
yourself? I don't
is
know.
it's supposed to be like a surprise and a discussion, and you
Uh, uh,
kind of weigh in with your opinions as we go. But
okay.
like
I guess
I
it's
couldn't.
called Tux's top five, not Tux and Jez's top five. So, so I'm going to create my own top five. We'll do
You
it
just
on
want to have your
Thursdays
finger and
when you're not
everything,
here.
don't you?
It's okay. Yeah. Don't you know it?
No, but like I've had to put them in rankings because it's obviously 1 to 5, but
No.
they're not proper rankings, and there's even events that aren't on the top 5 which I think probably should be there. So there's going to be some discussion about this, hopefully not too long.
Mm,
And then below average
mm.
NRL contract sagas continue.
Again, yeah.
And it
Yeah,
is a
it's
little bit
crazy. But
to what you've said about having this stuff happening mid-season. This is what we
mm,
get. But
yeah.
we'll save that for the segment. First
Mm,
up, my top 5 sporting events to attend. Now,
mm.
as I said, this was a really tough one to list because there's so many different events. Like I pulled up
Why
just
didn't you
to.
just ask your wife ChatGPT to do it for
Funny you say that.
you?
No, I didn't. I just Googled. But
Yeah.
there's 100. You go to top 5
So
sporting
you're so
events to
old
attend, and it
school.
gives you a list of 100, gives you a list of 50, gives you a list of 20, and obviously a lot of them are quite American centered. So you're getting one of the biggest ones that comes up is the Masters, and I
Mm.
thought, okay, well maybe we should just restrict it to a one game thing, not a series or a multi-day event or something like that. But it's just there's so many different restrictions, and it was getting too complicated. But
We don't like restrictions. Just
no,
restrictions.
no, the
Mm,
Masters
no,
didn't make
no
my list,
restrictions.
but I would love to go to the Masters or any
Mm,
kind of PGA. Do they call them Grand Slams in golf? I don't know.
mm.
Is that a tennis term?
Majors,
Majors.
and it's the same with tennis, I think too. They call them majors. They
No,
call them
tennis
grand
is Grand
slams and
Slam.
majors in tennis.
Mm.
Anyway, it's beside the point.
And then there's also stuff like the Olympics. I've been
Mm.
to
Oh yeah.
Paralympics. I've been to in Sydney. I didn't go to the
Mm-hmm.
actual, but that feels also like, okay, maybe you want to pick out the 100-meter final as an event
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that instead of the whole Olympics, because that's quite
No.
broad. Same
Rest of the
deal
day
with
boring as batshit trying to watch people jump over poles in the middle when you're 1,000 meters away. But 100
exactly.
meters is good.
Yeah.
Run, Forrest.
And then there's, all the motorsport. We've been to Formula One, and it's okay, well,
Mm.
which event on a motorsport calendar would be the best. It's like, hey, do you put that in? And it's like, but how does that compare? It's like a 3 or 4 day event. So that stuff didn't make it to the list. I'd love to go see, just to experience Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Horse racing, another one. Kentucky Derby would be great to go to. Melbourne Cup, I haven't been to. Magic Millions.
Yeah,
I
I've never
mean, there's
been to
so
the
many.
Melbourne Cup either. I've been to Magic Millions. I've been to, what's the big, is it the, I don't know, the big one at Randwick I've been to as well. Don't remember it. Too many
Caulfield?
Coronas in the sun. But
Golden Slipper.
I was there. Yeah, I was there, I
Caulfield's
think.
in Victoria. That's why it's called Caulfield.
Yeah, Caulfield's in Caulfield.
Yeah. Tour de France, another one. You've been to that, and
Yeah,
that's also a
great.
multi-day, multi-stage event. There's different
Yeah.
stages that give you different experiences. So, like I said, let's not take this
All right.
list for what it is. Just take it is
Yeah.
for what it
Yeah,
is.
it feels like you're making excuses. We've just talked about for the last 5 minutes about the reasons why you're not putting stuff on the list. Just give
All
us
the
the
ones that
list.
didn't
It's going to
make
be
it, the
awesome.
honourable mentions.
Huh? Yeah, but
All right, number
let's
5,
go. Number
the World
5.
Cup final. And I
Mm.
specifically didn't put a sport here because it's like any World Cup final, Rugby World Cup, Football World Cup, Cricket World Cup.
Mm.
Obviously, Football World Cup, Soccer World Cup would be probably the pinnacle of those World Cup events in terms
Mm.
of
Yeah.
atmosphere at an arena, a stadium. And probably you're going to get, like, more than likely, two teams at a Soccer World Cup final, Football World Cup final are often the two best teams of the tournament. In a rugby or a
Yeah.
cricket, sometimes it's often you get like an underdog. Someone jags a spot
Mm.
and they make it in, which is good in itself. But sometimes you get those blowouts in the finals that you don't often get in a Football World Cup.
Yeah.
Um, Thoughts around World Cups? Anything?
Yeah,
We'll just go.
like I think it'd be awesome just to obviously be in the country during a
Mm,
period of time for the World Cup. It's like go there, because they're played over like usually or always in different cities. It'd be cool to just, base yourself in a city and go to a game obviously in that city and then sit in the pub and watch some of the home games and stuff. And then obviously to be able to attend to be in the vicinity of the stadium for a World Cup, I think would be awesome in itself. And then to be able to actually go in and watch the game, it'd just be nuts. Especially, like you said, it's always the two biggest teams. It is the biggest sport in the world when it comes to
mm,
participation, and
yeah,
yeah, it'd be nuts. But yeah, an absolute pinnacle. All the Euros, like I
yeah.
think you get almost the same type of feel, really. Like they are
All
be
right, number
wicked.
4. Origin Game 3 at Suncorp, and
Mm,
this is
done it.
if the
Check
series
that.
is tied,
Done it.
because
Check
yeah,
that.
I don't think
Wicked.
for atmosphere and feeling at the ground, I don't know if there are better. Obviously, you have to be a Queensland supporter to enjoy it, but
Mm,
um, if you're a New South Wales player at that time, like I don't know whether it's as fun, but you get that, maybe you get the feeling of I'm in the shit. How cool is this to be right in the fury and the flames of hell?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think it's definitely like Origin in general. Any decider, even the first game, and like I still would probably, I don't know, making a big call, but saying that that's probably the best sporting atmosphere I've ever been in. I was
mm,
there I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I remember the play. It went into extra time, and Matt Bowen got an intercept on his own 30 and ran the whole field. We were behind the goal of the side where he ran to and won the game for Queensland in game 3 and decided the series. And it was just insane. It's raining beer and everyone's just like hugging each other and everyone's giving shit to the New South Wales supporters, respectfully, of course. Um,
yes, you do.
but it's just mental. Like that's burnt into me for easy enough to say, get goosebumps even talking about it. Like it got me addicted to sport in general. I think I was, I don't know, I think I was only like 18 or 19 at the time. So it was incredible.
Mm. I think
Like
like I
just
had
really, really, like,
had this
yeah, it just
game
changes
at
you.
number one for a while,
Mm,
and
mm,
like I said, the rankings. I could have just made this list without any rankings because they're all you can
yeah,
argue for anything to be at the top. Um, but this one definitely deserves to be on the list. Number three, the NBA All Star, and I've gone away from the thought of sticking to a 1 day event here, but
yeah,
here I think it's more about this is the pinnacle of showmanship. And that's why it made the list because I think if you're
mm,
there over the whole course of the weekend and the amount of just showmanship that goes into this weekend, I don't think you can experience anywhere else. Maybe it's comparable to Monaco F1 where it's all
yeah,
about just showing how good you are, how much money you have, how popular you are. And I think as
yeah. I see.
a supporter, as a person, it's an interesting dynamic to experience that.
Mm. Yeah, like because I think a lot of people could take this the wrong way because the game is usually pretty shit. Like,
Mm,
but the weekend as a whole, I think, is an interesting take because as soon as you put that on the list, I was like, what? But also awesome to be there mainly the day before and watch the dunk contest. Like
yeah,
that's a spectacle in itself, and it's just getting it's getting outrageous now. Like
yeah.
with some of the stuff they're doing, it'd be cool to sort of go maybe even back a few years where it was just like
Mm.
hardcore dunking. Now it's like, trying to shave Shaq's head with a razor as you hop over him and dunk it backwards. Like that's the sort of stuff you're getting. But like, yeah, a wild event. I think all of those All-Star games, you have to appreciate the whole weekend and being
Yeah,
there with all the best players around, being able to get autographs and take photos with people. And the fan engagement is always extremely high. So
yeah.
100% All-Star game, NBA deserves it to
Oh,
be there.
okay. Number two is the AFL Grand Final. Now,
Mm,
you could have also put grand finals of any sport here, as we kind of did with the World Cup Grand Final. But the AFL Grand Final, I think, is something special, and it's because if you compare it to the NRL Grand Final, there's much more fanfare. Um,
mm,
the whole city of Melbourne gets behind this, and it's from young to old, and that's the same. You don't see that as much in the NRL. The NRL is dominated by like spectators, dominated by men, and it's dominated generally by kind of our age bracket and maybe older. There's obviously
yeah,
a lot of kids around, but not in the same way that it is with the AFL. And
mm,
having that environment or that atmosphere where your 9-year-old granny's standing there laying into the umpire because she's followed footy all her
yeah,
life, like that you can't replicate. And the MCG as a stadium, I think, really amplifies the crowd more than what any of the NRL stadium or um, you say was it Allianz or Accor, whoever, whatever one there
yeah.
is
A core
at
now,
Homebush.
yeah, yeah,
So, and I think as well with the AFL, it's no matter what team you get, it's going to be a packed house. It's going to be loud. It's going to be just insane atmosphere from the moment you wake up on that Saturday morning to the moment you go to sleep.
yeah. Have you ever been to
To
an
AFL
AFL
Grand
Grand
Final?
Final?
No, I
Yeah,
haven't been to any Grand
no,
Final ever.
no, me either. Josh Dark, he's been to a few of them,
All right.
and he says the same thing. He's been to like heaps of live sport, and he says, yeah, the AFL Grand Final, there's nothing like it. I think it's right what you say. It's such a range of people. The AFL does that so well. It's like you go to a
Mm,
local game, like let's say like a Suns game or whatever, and kids are kicking the ball in quarter time. They've got a spot always for kids to be playing and
yeah.
stuff like that, and that creates a different type of atmosphere. And yeah, it is the stadium because like Allianz or no, Accor, it's shit for
Mm,
sport. Like you'd
yeah.
rather have the NRL Grand Final at Suncorp
at Suncorp.
because
Yeah,
it's just built right, but you have less people. And the
yeah,
AFL, you're pushing 100,000 fans there every year. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, we have to do that. We have to do that soon.
yeah. Any thoughts on what the number one spot or number one
No,
event could be?
I don't know, man. That's tough.
It's one we've
You've got the
spoken
World
about a
Cup.
lot, and it's one that I've almost said I don't rate highly because of the chance of disappointment.
The
The
Super
NFL
Bowl.
Super Bowl,
Of
and
course.
so this is why I kind of had Origin Game 3, or I even had the AFL Grand Final at number one right before we got on, and I changed it. And
Mm,
it's the pure fact that everything about the Super Bowl, except for the game, is elite. Like
yeah,
the lead up. You just look at the game in New Orleans now
yeah,
with Philly and Kansas City, and the town was on fire. All the pre-game
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
in the streets, the the build up to the game, the halftime, the arena, this everything is so spectacular.
Jamie Winston, Jameis Winston.
Jameis
If you just
Winston,
meet him in the street,
yeah,
he was epic, man. He was
and then
absolutely
and then
epic
it's
that
like
whole period.
the game disappoints
Mm,
more. Like since I've
mm,
followed and watched, I've watched every Super Bowl for what the last 12, 13 years,
no.
and
Yeah,
I think seen more disappointments than games that have been exciting, and
yeah.
that puts it down a notch. But still, I don't know if there's a better. When you walk away at the end of the day, you're just like, I'm never going to experience something like that again.
Mm, yeah. Like, I think there's a sort of common theme through your top five where it's got really nothing to do with the actual game. The game, like,
If you
no,
want
but
to see,
but that's
maybe
what
it's
sport
the
is, and that's what it's about. Like that,
yeah,
if you want to go see a good game, that can happen in round two
yeah,
of
yeah,
the year. It's got like nothing to do with the actual A versus B. It's all about what what the organization and does to create atmosphere around it,
mm,
and that's what going to live sport is. Like,
yeah,
you want to go in there, you want to have, like you said, be nervous the day before, you've had a few beers, you wake up, yeah, prepare, you get amongst all the action, and it's who delivers that the best.
mm, yeah.
And yeah, I think, like you said, all of these you could swap them out however you want to go, and you can add so many other events in. It's just that maybe we haven't experienced them. So
Is there one where you
yeah,
would say straight
awesome.
off the bat, this one needs to be on the list?
I don't know. I think a lot of people say being around like Wimbledon
Mm,
is a pretty amazing experience. Being sort of going, yeah, and even like for Australians, the Australian Open, people love the tennis week.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that's definitely some, yeah, one that people could argue that could be on the list. But like I said, it's chop and change. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes no difference.
All
Awesome
right.
list.
Let's
Tough to do.
extreme. I was when I had the idea, I was like, oh yeah, top five. We'll be able to rattle off five, and then I was like, oh shit, it's harder than I thought. All right, let's have a
Hmm.
break. Come back, below average. Okie dokie. Now we are back, and it's time for below average. Postifa.
Yeah,
NRL contract
back.
sagas back in the news.
Yeah, back to it again. We talked about this, I think, last week, and then they just popped up another one, and it's been probably the most negative news that's been in Australian sport, I would say, over the last week.
Yep.
This the same problem. Like, it is this controversy of being able to negotiate, clubs trying to lock down. This is a little bit different because it's the club trying to lock down a player early, and then him rejecting the offer for,
Mm,
and being vocal a little bit about why he rejected the offer, which is probably the mistake, because obviously the media is just gonna eat it up, and then there's been selection issues. And yeah, it is the whole issue. Obviously, we're talking about Lachlan Galvin, the West Tigers. I think he's contracted to the end of 2026, and they were trying to lock him down with a $5 million contract, the most ever to have handed to a rookie, and he said no. And the club then asked him why, obviously, and he just felt that he wasn't going to get the right development at the club in the situation that it's in at the moment, and he wants to look after his career and thinks he can be a better player if he maybe plays under a different coach in a different team. And that's obviously then hurt the players and hurt the coach, and now it feels like the whole club is revolting against him. He got dropped this week, even though he is the best option, and he's been good, man. Like,
Yeah.
so it's a big call. Like everyone, they're gonna play Luai and Dewey in the
Yeah.
halves this week instead of Galvin. But Galvin's that Nathan Cleary style game manager that Luai needs to be able to shine. And now all of a sudden, Luai's going to have to likely take a little bit more control, and that might work out well for the club. But then they have what's the one of the Fainu brothers that's sitting in the wings. That's also another young half that they're trying to blood. So they've got all these plans, and he just felt like he didn't fit. And it's like, I don't know. And now he's going to get dropped, and it's going to hurt his development. Like the club needs to now try and do the right thing and release him maybe early from his contract and see if he could start somewhere else. Otherwise, he's going to play reserve grade until the end of 2026. And from his perspective, he said he's trying to do something for the club by telling them early that don't plan for me in the future, because after my 2026 contract, I'm going to go elsewhere. So I don't know. What's your first initial thoughts on it? We haven't talked about this at all, so
no, it's I think it's been blown so far out of proportion, and I think the interesting part, and I've seen a lot of it spoken about on social media, it's the fact that the players that are coming out, like Jerome Luai, Api Coruscant, Sunia Taruva, have all done the same thing. They've all just recently taken a bigger money contract to go to the Tigers from a team that they were winning. And I know there's obviously differences in how it happened and with the thing about Galvin's thoughts about development and being at the Tigers and it not being the best for him. Like that part, I think is difficult to take as a player in a club like, well, that if you don't want to be with us, even right now, then fuck off. It's understandable if you're like, hey, in the future, but I think that part has been really, really taken out, and I don't think anybody really knows what's happening on the inside. They're just seeing what's happening in the media and then jumping on that, and it's been kind of blowing up in itself. In terms of the contract thing itself, it's again, like you said, I think he's done exactly the right thing he needed to do. What could have been better is that the club just kept it under wraps and helped him. He's 19 years old. Like, you need a guide. You have a what do you call it? When you're the
care of duty.
Yeah, not that word I was looking for, but exactly the right thing. As a club in the NRL, your job is to foster development of all the players, no matter if they're on your team or the opposition team, because it's better for your brand and for your future. And the Tigers should have stepped in here and said, hey, mate, look, we understand. Let us guide you through this so it doesn't blow up in both of our faces and that we can still continue to win games while you're here, and then we'll help you on your way. And I think a lot of people are saying that that's where the Tigers have failed before, is that they've been too soft, and now they're cracking down. But I think they've overstepped the mark. They can crack down and be strong as a club, but I think this is showing weakness. You're showing weakness by shutting down and pushing out instead of, hey, look, we understand. It's okay. Be the bigger man. Be the better man and say, it's not a problem, mate. We'll sort you out. We understand you don't like us. Let me help you to the next step, and we can all be friends and go out of here as winners.
Yeah. It's like if the shoe was on the other foot, like if the club thinks that he wasn't performing, they're just not going to give him a contract. It could have happens to anybody. Like it's all, it's business at the end of the day. And like you said, he's a 19-year-old kid making big decisions about his life. And if they're right or wrong, it's up to people that are older and more experienced that have been with him to guide him through. And like I sort of people are upset about his confidence and saying that he feels that he can be better somewhere, or there's not a coach he wants to be the number one, and Jerome Luai is the number one at the club. But for me, it's like that's the attitude of a champion. You talk to Ronaldo now when he's playing in the desert, and he'll still tell you that he's the best player in the world. Like, that's an attitude that someone that's 19 years old, that's becoming one of the best playmakers you've seen at that age, and why they're trying to give him the most outlandish rookie contract. It's because he's full of confidence. He makes decisions like a confident player, and now you're gonna strike him down for that and use that against him. It's like, I think it's just all a shambles, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out from the Tigers side, because if they put him in reserve grade and lock him down, that's majors. You've got to just let him go. There'll be a club that picks him up. There's plenty of clubs that need halves. The halves are probably the most sought after position at the moment, because there isn't enough quality around, halves around, especially young guys coming through that show the composure that he has shown. Especially like, it's a shame because the combination between him and Luai has been good this year. That's why they've been better, but it's I don't know, all falling to shit.
It'll be interesting to follow nonetheless, and see if he maybe ends up at Manly. See what happens with Cherry Evans if he comes to the Tigers. Maybe that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's right. It'd be very very interesting. But doggies, I have to point it out because very below average performance. You love these in sports. You always talk about the comeback. The Brisbane Lions came back from 40 points down at the start of the third quarter against the Western Bulldogs last week and won by 21. So a 60-point turnaround when you're leading, I don't know, had to be put in the below average class, because really below average performance from a team that really would have probably, they need these types of wins because they're so busted with injury. To get a win over Brisbane, over the Premiers, it would have sets them up for a long stretch through the season when they start getting their guys back. And to just let that go, it has that opposite effect. I think now you could probably expect, I don't know who they're playing this week, but you can probably expect them to lose if it's anybody half decent, just because they've had the win taken out of them by such a big loss. But yeah, when you've got sort of, I don't know, here's my also below average. My below average pronunciation of people's names is going to be at the highlight of this next part, with Bontempelli injured, Cody Waitman, Riley Garcia. Oh, here's a tough one. Taylor Douye. Is that right? You're good at this sort of stuff.
I'm going to let you cook, buddy.
Vandermeer. I think the more important part of this part of the segment was just my below average ability to pronounce names. I get hammered on best.com.au YouTube page for being so bad at pronouncing people's names. But yeah, tough loss for them. Very below average.
I was just going back to the write-up that I did about the Bulldogs and the Lions, and realised I put the wrong video in the in the article.
There you go.
I'm going to have to check the stats on that if it made a difference. I have the Demons and Essendon video in there. But I had the Bulldogs to cover the line 13.5, and they missed it by a goal or a goal and a bit.
Yeah,
and they were, it's just
you would have already been cashing your ticket at up 40 in the third quarter to cover 13.5.
Crazy,
insane.
But I went 3 for 4 last night in the NBA, baby. So,
oh, did you? Nice. Yeah. I went on Sunday. We started with the NRL and went 8 from 8, and then I also went, or over the weekend in the Formula One, went 3 from 3.
Whoa!
I had a massive week.
Love it.
Right, it was good. Probably the best one in a while. I've had a couple good weeks this week. This year.
We're good betters.
A lot
good
of bad
tippers.
Ones. No, it balances out. It's a long game.
Let's wrap it up. Bets.com.au for all your game previews, tucks, sport takes, basketball fix podcast. Didn't change that one. Get on to Sports Pez Jazz as well. Great crack. All right. Speak to you later.
See you, mate.
Finish us off.
What did you say at the start? You said something at the start about being. I was going to use that as the outro. Now I forgot. Otherwise, hang with us. Stay ahead of the game.